The defensive line had held for months. Russian troops dug deep into trenches stretching across miles of contested territory. Concrete bunkers, minefields, artillery positions, and fortified strongpoints were designed to stop almost any assault. Military analysts described the front as one of the most heavily defended battlefields in modern warfare. Then, almost overnight, everything started falling apart. Reports began emerging that Ukrainian forces had launched a series of coordinated strikes against key positions behind the front lines. At first, the attacks seemed limited. A supply depot here, an ammunition site there. But as the days passed, a much larger picture started to emerge. Ukraine wasn't just attacking the front line, it was attacking everything keeping the front line alive. And the results were devastating. According to military observers, long-range strikes began targeting logistics hubs, fuel storage areas, command centers, and transportation routes supporting Russian operations. Explosions reportedly echoed across rear areas that had previously been considered relatively secure. Then came the drone footage. Videos circulating online appeared to show ammunition depots erupting into massive fireballs visible for miles. Secondary explosions continued for hours as stockpiles detonated one after another. Thick black smoke climbed high into the sky while emergency crews rushed toward the destruction. But the real impact wasn't the explosions themselves. It was what happened afterward. Without ammunition, fuel and reinforcements moving forward efficiently, frontline units reportedly began facing increasing pressure. Supply routes became more dangerous, convoys moved slower, commanders were forced to adjust operations constantly as strikes continued targeting critical infrastructure. And that's when cracks started appearing. Military analysts noticed reports of Russian positions abandoning exposed areas that had been held for months. Some units reportedly repositioned to avoid encirclement, while others struggled to maintain communications amid constant pressure. The battlefield was changing, fast. What made these operations especially dangerous was their coordination. Rather than focusing entirely on direct assaults, Ukrainian forces appeared to be combining drones, artillery, intelligence gathering, and long-range strikes into a single strategy designed to weaken defenses before major attacks even began. And according to some experts, it was working. Satellite imagery and battlefield reports suggested several key areas were experiencing mounting logistical challenges. Roads once crowded with military traffic reportedly became riskier as surveillance drones monitored movements around the clock. Then another major problem emerged: morale. History has shown that even heavily fortified positions become difficult to hold when soldiers feel isolated, undersupplied, or constantly under threat. Continuous attacks on rear areas can create uncertainty far beyond the immediate battlefield. Every explosion behind the lines raises new questions. Will supplies arrive? Will reinforcements come? Will communications stay operational? And once those doubts begin spreading, defensive positions can become far harder to maintain. Then came a series of developments that grabbed international attention. Reports suggested Ukrainian forces were making gains in areas previously considered difficult to penetrate. Analysts cautioned that battlefield situations change rapidly, and claims from active war zones are often difficult to independently verify in real time. But one thing seemed increasingly clear. Pressure on Russian positions was growing. Military planners around the world began studying the campaign closely. Modern warfare is no longer defined solely by tanks and infantry charging across open terrain. Drones, precision strikes, intelligence networks, and logistics disruption are now shaping outcomes on a massive scale. And nowhere is that more visible than in Ukraine. Some experts compared the strategy to slowly removing critical pieces from a machine. A front line may appear strong from the outside, but if fuel, ammunition, communications, and leadership are repeatedly disrupted, the entire system becomes vulnerable. Then came the question everyone started asking: could this lead to a larger breakthrough? That remains one of the biggest uncertainties on the battlefield. Defensive lines built over months or years don't collapse instantly. Even under heavy pressure, fortified positions can remain dangerous obstacles. But history has shown that once momentum shifts, events can accelerate rapidly. For soldiers on both sides, the stakes couldn't be higher. Every convoy, every drone flight, every artillery strike, every decision made by commanders, all of it contributes to a battle being watched closely around the world. As explosions continued lighting up the night sky and reports of new strikes emerged, One reality became impossible to ignore. The fight was no longer limited to the trenches. It had expanded deep behind the lines. And if those critical support networks continue coming under pressure, the consequences could reshape entire sections of the battlefield. Because sometimes a front line doesn't break from a direct attack. Sometimes it crumbles when everything supporting it begins to disappear. And according to many observers, that's exactly what Ukraine may be trying to achieve.